how do you even begin to reopen a pub? By the way, if you're calling now, I just want to do 5 or 10 minutes on this because it's fascinating. So hold your calls. I know you all want to talk. I will keep doing the phone in until we get to the end of the show. 0115 888 2169. How do you possibly manage social distancing and selling beer in a pub?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. Obviously, we've had all different types of protocols that we must adhere to.
Right.
As and when we are allowed to open up. But obviously, then that's like, you know, plucking at straws. Nobody knows when we're going to be allowed. You know, I don't think anybody's further ahead with that decision than the next person. But from what we've been told, we have to obviously still adhere to that when we're allowed to open.
Right.
We're lucky enough that we do have quite a large pub for people to come into.
Okay.
However, it's still going to be difficult. I mean, myself included, when you have a drink, you know, lots of people sort of, you know, throw caution to the wind. Oh, you know, forget about it. Oh, come on over here, you know, stuff for COVID. That's what we're going to get. So,
and how do you manage that? Okay, so I come in the pub, right, and then I see a friend, and I stand closer than 2 meters. What are you going to do? There's 2 or 3 of you behind the bar, and there's 30 of us in the pub. Have you either got the time, the power, or the inclination to say, excuse me, love, you're going to have to be 2 meters apart? And what if he's deaf?
Well, the story goes, basically, unless I put myself at risk and enter the 2 meter sort of stance with it all, exactly, where do we go with that? Right. Obviously, then it's more cost incurred, because then I'm going to have to employ door people.
It's impossible. I mean, this is ridiculous. Could you give us an insight? Have you had a document then already from the government or from whoever you rent your beer off, or whoever you rent the building off, or whatever? Is there a formal document about how you're going to have to behave post-opening, or is it still all up in the air?
Well, myself and my husband, we take, well, actually not unfortunately, because it was a path that we chose to go down. We were only open for 3 weeks before we got this lockdown. So it was sort of a massive blow. We took, obviously, you know, trying to find, and we also took a tenancy on, which means that we're not run by a brewery. So obviously there's lots of difficulties in that. We do have a BDM, which he's been actually really, really good, really supportive, and he sent us all the correct paperwork, things that we have to fill in, things to guide us through it all. But again, yes, we've had information, but from him, but he's not any further ahead than what anybody else is.
So are we going to have these stupid bloody, I'm a moron, I don't know how big 2 meters is, and all these fucking arrows all over the pub everywhere, so we can't, or boxes like they're doing in Chinese playgrounds, where I have to stand in this box and Derek has to stand in that box, and Johnny and Carol have to stand in this, and Clarice has to stand, I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, the way that Adam, my husband, and I, the way that we've gone about it is we're going to be removing X amount of tables. So there aren't specific, obviously you've got to sort of adhere to that 2 meter distance. Little things like obviously moving things like the fruit machines away from each other, you know, that they're all things that you've got to sort of adhere to.
Right,
However,
okay, but give me the, okay, right, but let's stop at this, right? There's a table for 4, right?
Yeah.
You can't manage whether 4 people are from the same household who are going to sit in it, or whether they're 2 friends. How could you possibly be responsible for that?
And we won't know, because the thing is, if let's say if you decide to meet up with Tom, Dick and Harry and come in here, and if you tell me...
Well, I certainly don't want to see Tom and Harry.
No, you definitely don't. But if you tell me you're all from the same household, I have to take you at face value.
Well, of course. And you won't have time. So then
no,
will there be a numbers on the door? You see, this is the row I had with these morons in the West End who are too thick to still understand that the business element of social distancing doesn't equate to opening a theatre. So in other words, you can't work at 30% occupancy because you'll make a loss. So therefore there's no point opening. What is the point that you're going to have to say, right, nobody else can come in like they're doing in Sainsbury's, but can you make a profit on the amount of people that you will be allowed to let in, or is it all a waste of time?
And this is the sort of the thing that we're dealing with at the moment, obviously, because at the moment we're 0 income. And actually we don't have any staff at the minute. It's just me and my husband. So then we're thinking, you know, do we open, because, you know, we've got literally nothing coming in at all.
Right.
So do we open, but for the sake of what? You know, maybe it's all right serving 3 pints an hour, or do you serve 30 pints an hour?
Right,
you know,
and you must know. You see,
here anyway.
like in the West End, for example, they have to be at 70 to 80% occupancy to make a profit. It costs £300,000 a week. You must know what it costs to open that pub and switch the lights on and have the machine go in and pull the pumps. And so, do you think in your heart you're going to be able to make it, or is it just give up until there's a vaccine and we can? Because social distancing is the killer for business. That's the thing that's going to kill business and supermarkets. And just wait for July 1st, by the way. That's when the next set of rents are due. People are going to throw in their tenancies, and you're going to see businesses fall across this land. And if we let that happen, it's a fucking travesty, because I'm telling you, people under 60 are not affected, generally, 99% not affected by COVID. And we've got to get this into the thick heads of everybody, that if we don't get back on our feet, we are finished for probably decades. We'll never recover.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we know of other people that have obviously taken on tenancies, and actually we know a couple that actually took on the tenancy on the Friday that was shut down that evening. Like I say, I mean, for us, we have no choice now. We've taken this on. Yeah. We have no choice. We've got nowhere else to go. If we leave now, if we fold, what's the point of it all? We have to continue. We have to. What
are you losing? Do you know what you're losing at the moment a week by not being open? What is that costing you? Could you give us an idea, a rough?
Yeah. Well, when we opened this pub, it basically needed to be dragged from the pits, basically, to where our idea of it is going to. There was no food. There's a fully equipped kitchen, but there wasn't doing food. So obviously, just on wet alone, there was taking like maybe £4,000 a week. We got that up. We was going flying with that. Obviously, cleaning, making sure everything was right. Inviting the customers back, making it people welcome. I think since lockdown we're at a loss in the thousands and thousands. If I think about it too much, I'd go and cry in a corner.
I know, and I wasn't meaning to depress you, but what I'm saying is, how long can you sustain being closed? Because this is the thing I think we've got to get into our thick heads. There is going to be a tipping point with all hotels, restaurants, pubs, theatres, where any mass of people come together. Even sport, where they're just going to go, fuck it, we're done. There's no point carrying on. And that, you can only throw so much shit at the wall. And if some doesn't stick eventually, you're going to give up, right?
Yeah, of course. Like I said.
Have you got a point in your head when you need to be reopened by? Because that's it. Is there a point? Because if you will be similar to other pubs, I'm sure, across this land.
Yeah, exactly.
When do you think you're going to have to open by to survive?
To survive, I don't think it will happen, but we are in every single fibre of my body. I really, really hope, obviously with social distancing, so I don't want to put people at risk, but obviously in the same breath, I'm sort of putting my own family at risk by the fact that what are we going to do?
You're not putting anybody at risk. If I choose to come in a pub or a restaurant or a theatre or a sports stadium, put myself at risk. And I think I should be allowed. I hate to sound like Donald Trump, and I hate to sound like these Americans going around with guns outside courthouses. But do you know what? I'm a grown-up man who's smart enough to read the ONS figures to realise I'm at little or no terminal risk from COVID. More people, 9 times more people last week died of not COVID. They died of pneumonia and the normal flu more than COVID. I'm smart enough to work this out. Why can't other people see it? It's terrifying to me that people are blinded by this furlough bollocks, that they think they're going to be paid forever to sit at home and paint the fence. Listen, we are fucked, and we've got to get people back to work. And the start of that is teachers getting off their arse and teaching kids, because once the parents are free to go back to work, this can start very slowly. And then hopefully, maybe you're allowed to bring 50 people in your pub at a time. It's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's better than nothing. And I think we can actually govern that amount of people. That's what we're trying to say. I mean, we could govern that.
Well, you have to have a doorman. I mean, who's going to manage? Because you haven't got time to pour me a pint and watch how many people are in the building. I mean, how are we going to manage this? Or have a bloody turnstile?
That's another issue, obviously. So it's another cost. So you open, but then you have to possibly a doorman to guarantee that people are behaving.
Wow. Well, of course, because we've seen
we're hoping for July. We hope with every fibre that,
right.
that, you know, that things will be at least lifted enough that we will possibly be able to, you know, open the doors in July.
They've got to. I mean, I'm telling you, this country, I cannot stress enough, if we are not back open for business in July, maybe even June, there is going to be a terminal cost to the economy that is going to last for decades, and we're going to be fucked.
Well, I mean, we've even had sort of like taxi drivers sort of saying, you know, like the pub industry and the hospitality industry closing has basically crippled a lot of the freelance taxi drivers. They're not making a living. They're not making a living because where do you pick, you know, phoning up the taxi driver on a Friday night, Saturday night, oh, can you pick me up? And it's not
from the front door to the back passage. I mean, we've really got to think about this because, again, I'm talking science and facts. I'm not talking my opinion and hope. The facts are very clear. If you're under 60, there's a less than 1% chance of you dying of COVID. We are more likely to get ran over by a fucking 747 taking off along the M1. It's ludicrous. And I get it's a tragedy for those who've died, but they've got blood on their hands in government for allowing these old cocks in nursing homes not to be protected, not to give the carers PPE, not to send them an ambulance, not to put them into the Nightingale, not to give them a ventilator for a chance. And if we take away the people over 70, you'll quickly see that this is just a very sad event that we've got to overcome. And the longer we leave it, I'm telling you, we're devastated and we're finished. And I just hope... I hope you can hold on long enough because it's just so awful.
We can.
And I see no hope from this government that they're helping anyone truly. This furlough system is truly flawed because it's giving blind faith to people who are not going to have a job to go back to. I could name you 5 businesses now in my network of people I know that are going to go bust as soon as that runs out because there'll be no business left. We have to open Britain. We've got to do it.
We were not in a situation to allow ourselves to be furloughed because we weren't self-employed before we took this pub on, like many other pubs. And I'm sure that there might be hundreds of thousands of people that can relate to this right now. We took the pub on and we weren't self-employed before that. So there was nothing to go back on over the last 3 years. We were not allowed to be furloughed. So basically... we're not getting paid. We don't get paid, and universal credits do not allow. So
it's a travesty.
So there's lots of this. I mean, the thing is, there are lots of people screaming, "Oh, we'll help you from from the media and what have you." You know, you actually get down to the crux of it.
There's no
how many people really want to? They really
there's
don't.
No hope. There's no hope and no help unless this social distancing is quashed and we allow people who are young and well, i.e. under 60, to get back to real life, and we've got to do it immediately. And you know what? I'm no fan of Richard Branson, this creep asking for 500 million. But you know what? Virgin is going to go bust if they carry on because, like any other business, you can only grip on for as long as you can. You've got no staff. You've sacked your staff. You're gripping. Millionaires are not going to give their millions up to save a company. They will simply let it go bust, and that's where we're at. I'm telling you, we've got to get back to work, and teachers have got to start teaching kids. It's paramount. Listen, Emma, it was lovely talking to you. Thank you for your insight. We wish you all the best. Do you want to give your pub a plug, or would you rather not?
I do, I would love to give my pub a plug. If anybody's in the area in Nottingham, in Hucknall especially, we are the Green Dragon on Hucknall Road in Hucknall. Please, and come down and have a meal when we're allowed to open. We'd love to see your faces. We'd love to have a chat with you.
I promise you, as soon as you're open, we'll get you back on and we'll do something with you, and we'll do a live from there or something to help you. I promise. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. Nothing you can do about it. Try love. Bye-bye. 0115 888 2169. The phones are crazy tonight, and we thank you so much for calling in.